In 1980, during November and December, the east coast of Britain was experiencing a massive wave of UFO sightings, as hundreds of citizens were seeing something unknown flying in the skies above. One of these sightings includes the now very famous Rendlesham Forest encounter, which I have covered in one of my previous videos. And today, we're going to cover a very credible, alleged alien abduction that happened at about the exact same time. In a small town in West Yorkshire, and just a couple of weeks before the Rendlesham Forest encounter, a policeman, Alan Godfrey, was doing his rounds looking for some lost cows. And according to UFOcasebook.com, Alan, or other police officers, did eventually find these missing cows, but they found them in a rain-soaked field that was pretty far away, and they didn't see any hoof marks in the surrounding areas. And since it was raining, or had just rained, there should have been tracks indicating to how these cows got there, but there just wasn't any. So this really puzzled the officers because there was just no explanation to how these cows got into that field. Now, as Alan was heading back to the station to log out for the day, he saw a very large object that was slightly hovering over the road. At first he thought that it was a bus, but as this craft was getting closer, he realized that this was no bus. This was something else. So this very shocked police officer pulled over and pulled out his notepad, and he started to draw this UFO. Then he saw a very bright burst of light, and the next thing that Alan remembered was that he was actually driving his police car, and he was a lot further down the road than where he was before. So Alan was now really freaking out, and he turned around and went back the other way as fast as he could in hopes that he could find this UFO again. But sadly, it was nowhere to be seen. And when he finally got back to the police station, he noticed that it was a little bit later than it should have been. Now, Alan at this time did not want to make an official report, as he knew that what he had just witnessed was just too crazy. But later that day, he was informed of other sightings, such as a truck driver that was about 3 miles north of Alan's position had also seen this craft, and at about the exact same time. And this truck driver was so confused but still amazed by what he saw that he called the police. And there was also another report coming from other police officers who were on a stakeout at the time who had also seen this craft. So Alan decided to come forward, and he filed an official report. And to Alan's surprise, his fellow officers told a local newspaper about his encounter, and they wrote an article about it. And of course, this article got a lot of attention, especially from UFOologists. So they wanted to investigate this case because it is very rare to get a sighting of this magnitude coming from a police officer. And one of the first things they asked Alan was if he had experienced any missing time. And Alan did say previously that he did, and he also made it very clear to these investigators that he couldn't remember anything after he saw that flash of light. Now, missing time is very common in regards to alien abductions, so they wanted to put Alan under hypnosis to see what they could find. And what they uncovered was pretty shocking. While under hypnosis, Alan revealed that while he was witnessing this bright light, the car engine stopped and his radio turned to static. Then he passed out. And when he woke up, he was inside a strange room, but it was more like a house than a spaceship. Then he saw a very large black dog and a bearded man who was dressed very strangely, which Alan described as biblical. And this bearded man was talking to Alan telepathically, and he told Alan that his name was Yosef. And while Yosef was operating or examining Alan, Alan noticed that there was also several small robots in the room. And these robots were about 3 to 4 feet tall, and their heads were shaped like lamps, which kind of reminded him of the Greys, but he clearly stated that they were robots. Then the next thing Alan remembered was being back in his police car. Now, after this abduction, Alan was ordered by his bosses to undergo medical investigation because they wanted to know if he was mentally fit to be a police officer. And every single test he took came back normal. In their eyes, Alan was a very mentally sound man, so he was allowed to return back to the police force. And about a month later, very close to this location, the Rendlesham Forest encounter happened. And there was also another pretty famous case involving a police chase and a UFO around the exact same time. Now, since there are, and still, so many sightings and encounters with UFOs and even alien beings within this region, it is known as UFO Alley. And when I looked at the Wikipedia page for Britain's UFO Alley, I was shocked at how many documented UFO sightings and alien encounters there have been throughout the centuries within this area, making this one of the world's biggest UFO hotspots. Until next time, this is Paranormal Junkie. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.